very good evening and welcome to Big Talk on Global TV. My name is Ubong Usoro. It's a program where we look at the trending political topics in Nigeria as we try to make sense of Nigeria and where the country is going. All right. Today, like I do every day when I come on the show, I went on social media and I tracked for you some of the trending issues that we have. Let's see some of the issues that we have that is actually trending on social media. It says PDP demands removal of Edo-Rec ahead of by-elections. So ahead of the National Assembly by-elections, the Edo chapter of People's Democratic Party has called for the immediate removal of the resident electoral commissioner, Dr. Anaugo Onawa. Yeah, so the PDP demands the removal of Edo-Rec. Okay, that's one of the stories that we have a lot of comments. And for today, we didn't really track comments for you, but we'll do that subsequently. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Another story that's trending says Remi Tinubu donates 1 billion to victims of Benue attack. So First Lady Remi Tinubu actually announced a donation of 1 billion naira from the Renewed Hope Initiative to support families displaced by deadly attack in Yelewata community in Benue State. And a lot of Nigerians had comments about that. Was it a personal money and all of that? Okay, big story on social media. People are talking about this story. It says, hope not lost on remaining Chibok girls. Leah Sharibu, that's coming from the federal government. So the federal government has reiterated its commitment to securing the release of the remaining abducted Chibok school girls and Leah Sharibu, assuring Nigerians that the girls have not been forgotten despite the passage of time. A good evening to you. And welcome to Big Talk on Global Television. My name is Ubong Usoro, your host. And tonight we have an in-house analyst joining us. Hopefully, another analyst will be joining us as we progress on the show. Gimba is joining us. Topsy Gimba, good evening and good to see you.
Ubong, thank you so much for having me on the program this evening, I must confess.
All right, so let's start with, before we go into our topic for today, some of the trending political topics that we've seen. I'd like to start with the First Lady donating 1 billion naira to victims of the Yelewata attack in Benue State from the Renewed Hope Initiative. We think it's a step in the right direction?
Well, if you asked me as an individual, I would see it as a step in the right direction. But the question is, where is this money coming from? Mm-hmm. What job does she do that she'll be able to raise 1 billion naira for the people attacked at that Yelewata in Benue State? The gesture is quite very commendable because lives were really lost and houses were burnt into ashes. And so anybody that has a little bit of this, that has money, can actually do that the way she did. But being part of the system of the government and the wife of the president of the country, and is being able to donate 1 billion naira for that community or that devastated community, the question is, where is this money really coming from? Or where did you get the money? Because we know that she's a first lady. And if you look at it...
We know many things about her. We know that she was
a senator.
A senator for 3 terms. That counts in Nigeria political space, where we see people who are senators in 1 term, build houses and all of that. So,
yes.
Yeah, that counts for something. And she was First Lady of Lagos, right? And yeah, and we've... there are businesses that have been linked to their family, and we've never had the family come out to deny those businesses. So,
so by what you're saying, it's justifiable for the 1 billion naira. Is that what you mean?
No, I'm asking you the question.
Yeah, really. Yeah, if the family has a lot of money and she decides to do what she did by providing 1 billion naira for that community that was raised down by bandits or whatever they are called, or terrorists, to me, as a matter of fact, it doesn't really matter much. Because the question here is, what area or areas did she ask them to use the money for? Or was it meant to be shared to families that have suffered the attack? Or was it meant to carry out some certain projects that the entire community will benefit from it and not? I wouldn't know. But, the rebuild of that community is needed very fast for those who actually survived the attack. In the sense that houses must be rebuilt, probably providing pipe-borne water for them by borehole or whatever, rebuilding schools and probably churches or mosques that were destroyed as a result of this attack. But if just given to them without actually specifying basically what that money is meant for, and then it becomes something that most Nigerians really ask for, that money that's set aside for that particular meant by the wife of the president.
All right, so another story that we're seeing is those in Edo State asking the PDP, People's Democratic Party, by the way, who were able to conduct their NEC meeting last week. Against all odds, you know, I had a member of the PDP NEC join us in the studio, and he mentioned that people were surprised that we had the Board of Trustees of the PDP available, members of the party, Governors Forum Chairman, and every other person that makes up the party available at that NEC meeting here in Abuja. And the PDP is saying INEC should remove the NEC chairman in Edo, the REC chairman, that's the Resident Electoral Commissioner, in Edo State. What do you think about that, where political parties can actually come out and vote? Because this is not the first time. I remember in Akwa Ibom when Mike Igini was INEC chairman, we had the APC at the time call for the removal of Mike Igini, accusing him of working, you know, for the PDP governor, PDP government, as it were at the time. So when we have these political parties raise, you know, alarms about those who are electoral officers that are supposed to be supporting, that are supposed to be unbiased, that are supposed to be electoral umpires that are fair to all concerned. You know, I've had interactions with INEC, so I understand how their job description is clearly cut out, where those in the commission are not supposed to be politically motivated. But when political parties raise this alarm and say we don't need this man to be supervising elections that will go into, does it affect the sanctity of our election or our electioneering systems?
Yeah, Ubong, I will agree with you. But the question I want to ask is whether or not PDP has a political soul to be able to survive, for it to say what is said concerning the REC in Edo State for the by-election. If you look at PDP, it's almost like a carcass left, having been destroyed.
They still have governors.
The governors, you don't even know whether they are free columnists. Today, everybody is a suspect in every political party. Whether he is there to become a mold for the purpose of destroying the party, at the end of the day, you cannot really understand. And so even if you are talking about having some governors who are members of the PDP, the question here is, are they really committed to the ideas and the principles that brought about the PDP? The question is no. Because so many of them who had actually attended similar kind of fora later left as governors. I'll give an instance. You are governor from Akwa Ibom. You know, he was an active member of PDP. When nobody knew that deep within him, he was actually preparing to leave the party the way he did.
And he gave his reason. He gave his reason.
Everybody has reason.
He said the party, the party at that time, they had issues. Let me just...
Everybody will say they have...
Let me state it. No, yeah. He said the party had issues where we had Sam Anyanwu, who is the current national chairman of the national secretary of the PDP. You know, a faction were supporting him. Of course, the FCT minister and
those who are saying...
And we had Ugo Chinyere, you know, where was also thrown out by the Southeast caucus of the party. So the governor said he didn't know who was going to sign his nomination form going into 2027. And we've seen people lose election as a result of conflicts within the party. The APC in Rivers State, remember in 2019, being an example. So maybe he looked at that and felt...
You let themselves sometimes they can engineer certain things to happen so that they'll have reason to say it to the public that the way they are. Do you understand? Because a Nigerian politician is very hard to be understood to a certain level. And so if you now say because he came up with a reason or reason as to why he felt it was necessary for him to leave the party like the way he left, I wouldn't convincingly be satisfied enough to say actually the PDP had issues and therefore he felt it was important for him to leave. And so he left because they are leaders of the political party they belong. And because they have individual reasons as to why they want to remain or leave, they will now come up with certain issues that will make the party to look like as if it is fighting itself internally. And so the best way to do it is to cause confusion so that he come up to say what he said and so that he'll be able to pull out. Because usually in the law, you cannot, in the setting of a political party, you cannot leave having received the mandate of the people in that particular given time, except there's a confusion. If there's a crisis within the party, you cannot do that. And so if they have interest, ab initio, to do what they want to do, they will not create this scenario, and so that they will leave. And so for PDP to say what they said, that they want the change of the resident registrar commissioner before the by-election could be conducted in the state, I don't really know, because by standard they are not supposed to be. They are meant to be bipartisan. They are not supposed to be known to be. I mean, I'm talking about the REG now. REG are supposed to be bipartisan, just doing the job assigned to them by INEC and then delivering the assignment given to them without having to do any political party. But if a party comes up and says that this particular person sent to carry out that responsibility appears to be biased, and then they want that person to be removed or changed, then they need to provide what are the things they notice.
Because the law says, yeah.
Because again, I think they are ranting because they are opposition. Who didn't make any impressive outcome during the by-election? Right, or during the governorship election of that state?
And the law provides a place that he who alleges must prove, so they could have a point too.
Yeah, okay, but did they provide points?
Let's look at the last, so some of the stories that are trending presently now. The last story says, hope not lost on the remaining Chibok girls, and the federal government is assuring Nigerians that yes, it may have taken time, but we are still on the matter, and the remaining Chibok girls, and the name is mentioned, Leah Sharibu. We used to hear that name a lot, more frequent, but it seems these days people are not really talking about the name again, and the federal government is saying at this point we've not forgotten about the Chibok girls. We think it will bring renewed zeal and excitement, because we saw when that crisis happened, when those girls were adopted, we saw how the media was interested. You are a professional in this field, so you understand what I mean. The media beam searchlights on issues like this, and after a while, the interest started to fizzle out, because definitely other issues came up every day, more troubles, more issues. But the federal government is saying that they are assuring Nigerians that the girls have not been forgotten despite the passage of time. Good assurance.
If you asked me, parents, the most fundamental aspect of it is whether or not the parents are still alive. Can you imagine that you stay with your child, or you must have sent her to school, and somebody gets there, removes her, until today cannot be accounted for? You can imagine the trauma that has gone through members of the family. The question here is, have they taken stock to find out whether or not some of them are still alive for them to give that kind of promise? After all, if they find them, on what basis is it to the parents in the first place? Look at the continuum of time since it happened, 2014. 2014 down the line to where we are. We're talking about 2025. They have been away without even having an opportunity or no iota of reason whether or not they are really coming back, besides some of these statements we're receiving from government. The question here is, are the members of the family still intact as a result of this trauma they received? That's the question. Before you talk about even saying you are recovering them. And then if you are recovering them, in what format are they? In what format are they? Are they like the way they were when they were taken? Or maybe they have given birth to children in dozens in wherever they are, and then you now bring back a child who is actually cannot fit into the society like they used to be in the past. And so what benefit is it for them to say hope is not still lost? So what benefit is it? Because they need to actually understand whether or not the parents are still very much alive. Because very many of them, we were told, were into serious crisis, thinking.
But the government is saying, it makes sense, but the government is saying that parents, we have not forgotten them. We have cases outside the country, like in the US and in other countries, where after maybe 15 years, 20 years, 10 years, you still see government still going to rescue people, maybe, exchange prisoners to get their citizens who were in prison in other countries back. And government is saying, yes, time may have passed, but we have not forgotten the children. Don't you think that gives hope to the family and friends
to recover them? It's a good step. But the question here is, like you make comparison to America, wherever you said, these claims are quite very, very strong economically. And so even if you are taking it to bush, the way you will be treated wouldn't be like the way, not to talk about terrorists taking you to an unknown destination. Nobody knows where you are. And then for that period of time, you are still very unknown. And then somebody comes to tell you that indeed he's working so hard to recover them. It beats my imagination, I must tell you this. Because it will make history that an effort was made in recovering them, and actually they have been found and then brought back to the family.
Some of them will recover.
It will make history.
Remember, some of them will recover.
But for a lady who was taken at her prime, and then taken away into the bush, so to speak, in court, because we don't know whether they're kept in a house or anywhere. But where they are is not in their immediate homes, and therefore it will not actually speak much about them by the time they are recovered. And so
I remember the last set of girls that were recovered from Kantagora somewhere in Kaduna and something like that. The government sends them to a therapeutic home and all of that, trying to make sure
makes them to be rehabilitated. Yeah, that's nice. I'm only talking about the time factor. Looking at the time when the event took place and where they are till today, and the recovery is not as if it's going to be done tomorrow. Well, it's only providing a statement that hope is not still lost. That hope can still remain maybe for another 5 to 10 years again.
We pray it doesn't.
And so, like you rightly said, at the time it happened, journalists were making a lot of noise about it. I remember some media stations that were counting days. Today, they are no longer doing that Abolia Sharago, because it has gone beyond the days. We are counting years. And of course, we were told from other sources that, of course, she has given birth. She has married to some of these terrorists wherever she is with them, and then she is already procreating. You can imagine that a lady procreating for somebody she didn't actually choose to love, and then you don't even know the condition she is as it is, and then she is giving birth to 1, 2, 3. You can imagine the shape of the lady that will be brought to the parent at the end of the day. That will further frustrate them at the end of the day.
All right, so let's look at our topic for today, 2027, political permutations, alignments, and intricacies. Let's start with the permutations already. The PDP, yesterday we saw a former PDP chairman, Ali Mudu Sharif, in a statement asking that the PDP is, at this point, the PDP is actually campaigning and calling on a former governor of Anambra State and the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, talking about His Excellency Peter Obi, to come back to the party. And I had a PDP NEC member who came on the show and also told me the same thing, that the party is actively campaigning, making sure that they can bring Peter Obi to the party, because the PDP, as it claims, has the structure to win presidential elections in Nigeria, which the Labour Party, they argue, may not have at this point. You think it's a good thing if Peter Obi goes back to the PDP?
Peter Obi, before he does that, he should ask himself some fundamental questions, so that at the end of the day, he shouldn't jump into the river that you cannot swim. Very clear. Because some of these people who are really drumming that he should come back and join the PDP like the way he was before porting out to become member of the Labour Party like the way he is, these are individuals who actively, worked secretly to destroy the party. And because the party is nosediving, is losing relevance politically in the political landscape of this country, they are trying to look at individuals who have captured the interest of Nigerians to now come back and join the party. The question here is, why in the first place they work against the party? They had the opportunity by becoming governors, senators, and then only at the end of the day they pulled out of it, or they were still there, but they were doing anti-party activities. And so at the end of the day, for them to talk to Peter Obi by luring him to come back to PDP, Peter Obi should look backward and look at himself whether or not that is quite very correct. Because at the end of the day, he might be lured to get back to PDP and then he will be abandoned by these individuals. Just like the way that we're doing to the platform that actually brought them to where they are today.
Okay, but I think if you look at structure-wise, in the last election, I covered the election, and one of the complaints that we had on the field was that the Labour Party didn't have party agents in all of the the voting points and all of that, polling booths and all of that.
Yes.
So, but the PDP claims that it has structure, it has party agents across Nigeria.
You mean PDP, or they claim that the Labour had?
No, the PDP.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, the claim is that the reality on ground, I covered the election, but that there were some points, some areas where the Labour Party didn't have party representatives, to sign when election forms are out, you are done. There's some signing, party agents who sign, PDP and every other party that have agents. Many political parties in Nigeria in the 2020 election didn't have agents to sign that form. And the Labour Party had in good places, but there were some places they didn't have. This one is not hearsay, it's based on verifiable facts that I saw on ground. So now the PDP is saying we have agents across all the wards in Nigeria. We have the structure. So if Peter Obi comes with his 6 million votes and the PDP comes with its structure, that the election will
be won.
before 2
Which
p.m.
structure can you say PDP has?
Members.
Who are the people that have pulled out to form? Who are the people that pulled out to form what?
They still have party members across Nigeria.
We're talking about the coalition that's currently existing, where politicians are moving from one political party to form what is called today a coalition under a non-political party called Africa Democratic Congress, ADC.
ADC is a political party. ADC is a political party.
If PDP claims that it has structure, but Peter Obi has number, so it is important for Peter Obi to now pull his number to join the structure. The question is, which structure do they have?
The members, they claim they have members across all the wards in Nigeria.
They don't. If they have members, are they still intact?
You saw the NEC meeting.
Let me be clear to you that indeed today in Nigerian politics, where you see people making noise about a political party, you need to actually sit down and look into it inwardly before you accept it in total. Otherwise, you are likely going to embrace a system that at the end of the day you'll be left with the carcass in your hands.
So you are saying what you are saying now, Mr. Gimba, is that the PDP doesn't have any structure.
Even if it has structure, how many? Don't you understand? You can have a carcass, a body of a dead horse. A body of a dead horse.
They have members in the House.
And I ask you,
you cover the National Assembly.
And I tell you categorically, and I ask you, to what extent are they truly committed to the ideas of the party they belong? That was the question I asked you fundamentally.
I'm not the one answering the question, but
I'm only being rhetorical in that. I'm only being rhetorical.
I asked the PDP, he sat where you were sitting, the NEC member, and he said that yes, they had issues, but coming out from that NEC meeting, they have resolved and they have solved their issues. So they are going into the future as a united party.
Have they changed the leadership tussle they have had all along, where some forces are like working to ensure that despite a lot of effort has been made? Don't forget that Saraki, the former Senate president, is meant to be a person to put them together to ensure that they should move together.
Reconciliation Committee.
Fine.
Chairman.
Now, I remember serially many efforts were made to ensure that indeed his committee is able to make a good headway in making sure that those who are feeling or who feel aggrieved should now come back. But they remain adamant.
But they've come back.
They remain adamant.
Those you mentioned.
No, remain adamant in the sense.
Were at the NEC meeting. And the communique was read. That was, all of them have pictures. Can we pull out? I don't know. We'll try to pull out that.
Even if you pull out.
So they were there when the adamant was read.
My point of view here is remaining adamant, meaning they want to remain in the party to further destroy it. We still have some 2 years to go before the election. By the end of this year, by the time we enter 2026, preparation towards campaign will start. You will not get to know, basically, you will not refer yourself to this discussion we had with you, that sometimes we said something like that. Very many of them might not remain, and even if they remain, they are just there to now, like dark horses, to pull down the structure of the party.
The party chairman, Damagu, said that those who were causing the problems have already left the party. And those who even left are regretting leaving the party because the party is coming out strong.
Do you know whether some members... Do you know whether or not some of these NEC members who attended this NEC meeting can still be speaking with some persons behind without you really knowing? Don't just trust a politician like that easily, particularly in Nigerian politics.
So the topic now, the question now is where this party is saying we have the structure. Peter Obi, come and join us. Would you advise Mr. Peter Obi? At this point, he has the numbers. He knows I can go into the election and have maybe 6 million votes, maybe more, or maybe less, but he will score some millions of votes. If he goes with this structure, will the election be over by 2 p.m.
Peter Obi can win election even if he does not have a platform because of his personality. His personality speaks for him. Everybody knows him. You cannot tie him to any corruption in Nigeria, and he has this genuine heart for Nigerians. His focus is quite very different.
But you know that it takes more than character to win election, Mr. Gimba.
I'm not speaking moral here. Yeah. I'm speaking philosophical. They call moral philosophy. Moral philosophy, they go hand in hand with the intention of the person who is actually involved in politics. There is a sense of moral philosophy in what Peter Obi tries to do politically in this country as compared to a raw politician who's actually just there.
But the party is saying, join us. That's what we're talking about.
I don't understand.
The party say we have the structure, come with this morality, whatever, join us. And we'll give
I'm advising, I'm telling you, not even advising, I'm telling you that Peter Obi, even if he does not join PDP, remember when he took off as a politician, Remember the formation of Labour Party, where he was hoisted as the presidential candidate for 2023. At a point, people thought he was not going to make any headway because until when he got to Labour Party, that Labour Party has been existing as a political party, but it was not known until when Peter.
No, it was not. They had governors. Mimiko was a governor from Labour Party.
That's what I'm saying, but not as strong as when Peter got there at the end of the day. And so the individualistic nature of Peter speaks very much about him. And whatever he wants to do doesn't really mean that somebody has to woo him towards getting a platform, or either the structure, like you are saying, that PDP has structure, therefore...
No, not me. The PDP is saying that it has the structure.
No, I'm responding to you like the way you said. I'm not saying you're the one that said it's not your philosophy.
Yes.
It's not your philosophy. I'm aware of that. But I'm using you to actually, for those who are watching, not to understand basically that you ask a question closely to that. So in this context, Peter Obi, like I have been saying, that Peter Obi is a prime factor in the Nigerian politics, and he has a very big followership, and he appears to be like a mass movement because he has provided his philosophical point of view to where Nigeria is really going, and the intention of what he wants to achieve at the end of the day.
We can go on a break. So the party is saying, yes, with all of this mass movement, the mass numbers, the mass following, whatever you like to call it, come and get our structure and win election. Don't you think that's a good plan? Because this was a party, he wanted to contest in this same party. He knows he knew the structure of the party, but he left maybe because of some persons. And now those people seem not to be in the party again. Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has left the PDP, and the party.
I would have imagined that he would do that.
The party has remember that the party has zoned its presidential ticket for the next election to the south.
Do you know why they are looking for Peter Obi? Because they want Peter Obi to come there so that they will use him to their own advantage. That's what it is. And because the man had come out categorically and said before the public that indeed if Nigeria give him the opportunity to become the president, he's actually going to serve only for one term.
Yeah, you know
they have studied his own philosophy. And they have studied his own political philosophy, and they want to get into it, and they convince him that he has structure. I would advise Peter Obi not to do it, because I am afraid of the structure of PDP on ground to change.
The Labour Party has factional chairman. At this point, we don't know. The PDP's problem is over. I'm not speaking for the PDP. Let's go for a short break, people. And when we're back, I still have Topsy Gimba with me in the studio. This is Big Talk, where we analyze trending political discussions. My name is Ubong Usoro. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. All right, very good evening. If you're just joining us, this is Big Talk on Global Television. My name is Ubong Usoro. This is where we analyze a trending political discussion. Okay, so we have Topsy Gimba in the studio helping us make sense of the discussions where we have. Let's take some of the reports that we had today. Some political reports that came in earlier. We'll look at that. Then we'll go back to look at a topic for tonight.
The All Nigerian People's Party, which is now a major bloc within the ruling All Progressive Congress (APC), is calling on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to ensure that the vice presidential slot is reserved for the ANPP bloc when the party fields its candidate for the 2027 presidential election. The coordinator of the party, Vitalis Ajumbe, emphasized that the move will reaffirm the significance of political inclusion and uphold the spirit of equity and power sharing within the APC coalition.
Vice presidential seat. The Association of the former NPP members hereby calls on our president, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to ensure that the vice presidential seat is made sacrosanct.
He added that preserving the vice presidents for the ANPP bloc will not only strengthen internal democracy, but also maintain balance among the party's legacy group. The ANPP is one of the 3 legacy parties that merged to form the APC in 2013. With political realignment already taking shape across the country, this latest demand is expected to stir fresh conversation within the ruling party. Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
Lomo did that report where we saw former members. I'm going to talk about that with you very quickly before we get it, because it's still about 2027 politics time. The permutations, the alignments that we are seeing, the intricacies now of the politics, where we see ANPP members, former ANPP members. Remember in 2014 we had ANPP come together, we had the CPC, we had the new PDP, we had some part of ABGA, we had the CPC. About 5 political parties, yeah, and 3 legacy parties, you know, because the 3 legacy parties collapsed all of the structure across all ward levels, state level and national level into one party. Obonaya Onu was the state chairman of the ANPP at the time, became a national secretary of the APC at the time. So we also had the CPC faction produce the presidential candidate in person of former late President Muhammadu Buhari, and we had the ACN faction, you know, produce the national leader of the party, which is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the present president of the country. But the ANCC faction, ANPP faction, in this report tomorrow we hope to have a Vitalis, who is the chairman of that faction, in the studio during Big Talk. So let's talk about this. The faction is saying that the CPC faction had produced Muhammadu Buhari as a chairman. The SCN faction has produced the current president in the person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And the ANPP faction as one of the 3 legacy parties that pulled all of its structures, collapsed it into the APC, has not produced a president. That what they're asking for at this moment is not even a president in 2027, but a vice presidential slot. And they mention many persons who are from the ANPP parts of the party bloc in the north that are credible, that are competent enough to pick the vice presidential candidate. What do you make around this arrangement? We have some members go back into the shales to look at legacy formations into the APC. Is it not bringing problems for the position for the ruling APC in 2027?
Yeah, there are what we call political spoilers. Political spoilers are those who are inside the political party in which they claim they belong, but they are just there to destroy it and then they walk away. The question here is whether or not at the time this formation came to be, until they produced leaders, until one of them became president, like Buhari became, and then to the blessed memory he passed on, whether or not at the time of signing, at the time of collapse and signing this agreement for them to merge to become a political party that they finally became, whether or not they were told that at a point in time they will be asking for representation at the national level, because I had ASC, SCN, I had ANPP, I had whatever, or CPC, that I finally merged it with, form a political party, whether or not they asked them that they will not come out and say, I want this position, I want this position. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at all. But what we're beginning to see is because there are so many of them today who are just they call it a mala-politician.
But what's
mala-politicians are those who are there.
What if they feel that the party have not carried that particular faction of the ANPP along?
Must you stay there and fight? There are so many political parties. You join. At the time you joined, did you know that whether or not you will win or you not win? They didn't know. They only formed a political party so that they will raise power with PDP, and then when Jonathan was in government. But it wasn't meant that they were going to win. They didn't even know that they were going to win. They merely put up a fight, but God made it possible for them to win. And they have won, and they serve, and they are still serving. But if they are feeling a little bit comfortable with the way the system works, does not anywhere give them that idea of saying, we were this, and we join you, therefore we want this, if you want us to remain. It doesn't really work.
They
are malapoliticians. If you check behind, maybe there are some forces behind them that are really sponsoring them.
Yeah, you know, because in the press release they gave they gave some demands, and one of the demands was that in 2027 they should be carried along in vice presidential slots, or they may have to rethink their political future somewhere else. And they still have contact to their members up to the world level across Nigeria. But let me ask now, there's been accusation of the presidency heading into 2027 that the presidency has made efforts to color the administration with members of the ACN bloc of the APC. That we have more ACN members in the current ruling, class, in appointment, in representation in the party. Do you think that is
ACN is of which what do you mean by that? I mean, I say ACN was meant for the Yorubas, or
no, it's not about ACN. Was across Nigeria.
No, who are the ones that were considering them to be like color the system? That's the question. But all I'm trying to say in effect is we have seen series of this democratic kind of government since we got back to it in 1999 to where we are. The last one was when Buhari was there. At a point, people began to think whether or not the entire government was meant for the Fulanis. And nobody said anything. Nobody. I remember at a point, the service chiefs were largely from that extraction. And he allowed them to stay there for closely 6 or so years without any change. Meanwhile, insecurity was ravaging everywhere. To even move a kilometer away from your house was so dangerous at a point. And if you dare it, truly, you are not coming back home. And then they were allowed to stay for 6 years. The question here is, you can only allow someone to stay for 6 years when he's giving you results. The question is, why were they allowed to remain that the way they remained?
But we are talking about
I'm coming. So if that happened in the immediate past administration for the whole of 8 years, and then somebody steps in just about 2 years, thereabout, and somebody is complaining that the makeup of those who are in the cabinet are largely from a particular structure, doesn't make sense.
Of a party, not ethnic group or a party.
Of a party. Yeah, okay, the ethnic group of what party are you referring to? That's ACN, right? Action, whatever it is called.
So it's the National Party.
The National Party, but largely from the Yoruba side. Largely from the Yoruba side. That is obvious, except I'm misquoting the fact. So if it is like that, the question here is, I'm still looking at this. They are only plotting or coming up with these issues so that they will have a way of hitting back to make reasons for Nigeria to see as to why.
But we know that in politics, one of the things in politics is that politics is a game of sharing resources to people. And one of the ways people get resources is when they agitate for resource control, they agitate for resources. So if a group, of course, Nigerian constitution gives people the right to mingle together and come together as a group. So if a particular group feels that since we came into this union and we decided to leave our personal goals and we came into the APC, what have we gained in the APC? If the ANPP group
Mr. Obon, what would they have gained if they had remained alone? Who were they in the first place? They were carrying their political offices in their suitcases. They never had office, some of them. Just nominal political parties. But the leaders were just carrying with suitcases all over the place. You don't pinpoint them by saying, this is where, go to Nyanya, you see their office, or go to Kaduna, you see their, they weren't like that. So they had the opportunity of having a name matched to a very strong system, a very political party, that at the end of the day, they are being mentioned. Otherwise,
but they contributed in the victory of the party.
The question, if they had remained without having to do with this merger, certainly they wouldn't have gone anywhere.
And so if eventually they pull out, of this policy, will it affect the chances of the APC in 2027?
Let me just tell you, those who have the benefit of the gods cooking food and putting it on their pants of that they eat, they should not complain. Do you understand what I mean? For you to have the benevolent of the god to cook food and put it on your palm and ask you to eat it and don't complain. This is what some of them have been as political parties all this long. And so like the way they are coming out to, like the clip is shot on the screen here simply suggests how unserious some of them are. Or they are being used as molds.
Tomorrow he will be in the studio, so you can we'll see him and we'll talk about it. You know, in the
I will
studio.
talk to you. I will not be afraid of you. I'm a Nigerian.
No, I know.
I'm
You are
a
a journalist. You are,
uh-huh.
you are a veteran in the field, of
Yeah.
course, so you understand your field. So we are still looking at 2027 political permutation, alignment, and intricacies, and we have in the studio helping us make sense our in-house analyst talking about Topsy Gimba, who also covers the National Assembly for Global Television, helping us make sense. Let's talk about the alignments now. Kwankwaso that we saw some days ago come out to criticize the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And we are hearing reports that the Kwankwaso may be the vice presidential candidate come 2027. That the president may want to sacrifice political correctness on the altar of winning elections, because we know that the Northeast, the Northwest carries a lot of votes when it comes, and Kwankwaso comes from a state where a lot of 1 million plus votes is already sure, and the Kwankwasia movement has been very strong, courtesy of the current governor, who is a supporter of Kwankwaso. So are you seeing this? So even when he came out to criticize the president, that the presidency has not really done much for the North, people said it's just politics, so draw attention to, and so that when he's moving, and we've heard that the former APC chairman Alhaji Ganduje, had to make way for this political permutation. But if we have this alignment between the NNPP, the national leader of the NNPP, Alhaji Musa Kwankwaso, former minister, and this current president, which we know they are friends. We've seen them, many times. He has gone to visit the president, and the pictures are everywhere. So if they go into this political alliance, do you think it should really help the fortune of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027?
Well, of course, if that speculation stands out to be what is likely going to translate into reality going to 2027 elections, well, it's likely going to be good for the ruling party at the end of the day. But again, we wouldn't know whether or not the present president might just continue with the vice president, that's Kashim, or is actually going to change. One wouldn't know. But we are beginning to see how he has been able to ask the former national chairman of the party to give way for some kind of realignment. We have seen that really happening. So we wouldn't know whether at the end of the day he will still go along with the vice president as it is now, or towards the end he will change. It's still not known. But if he decides to do that the way we are speculating, because it's not proven on fact whether or not he will do that, nobody can actually say. But again, like you rightly mentioned,
politically, is it a hit or a miss? That's what I'm asking.
Yes. I wouldn't.
You help us analyze the assets that Kwankwaso will bring in, or is it a liability coming?
The question here is whether or not the entire Kano as a state will align with the ideology of Kwankwaso if he moves out from NNPP to join APC, so that he becomes the vice president running mate for the
NNPP.
That is
the NNPP at the point was almost unknown before he went into the party.
Because if you look at what's actually going on, APC is making its headway into APC, where it's controlled by NNPP in that particular state. Remember, the senator representing southern part of Kano State, who had earlier won the election on the platform of NNPP, has already left NNPP to join APC. And there are very many of them. Havada Dogwa, who's actually a very strong force to be reckoned with in Kano State. And of course, a sizable number of people who believed in an APC that followed Kwankwaso with his removal, whether or not it was true he was asked to leave, or because of health challenge, Ganduje, one is not known. But if it happened, if they find out the reason as to why he was asked to step aside, then means very many of them are feeling a little bit aggrieved, and they will not go with the APC at the end of the day. And so it's going to be a very chaotic situation when you go to Kano to determine who actually going to make the day. And so for you to say Kwankwaso is moving, Kwankwaso is nominally he's known in Kano as a political force, but to what extent can he garner that support? He
had over 1 million votes. The last
that was but are they still the same? That's the question. The numbers you have just mentioned are just figures in themselves, but whether or not they are still there intact, or maybe some forces have come into play and they are not like that, we wouldn't know. But of course,
so let me quickly ask this one. There are conversation around who is inheriting the 12 million votes that was always 8 to 12 million votes that was always possessed by the former late President Muhammadu Buhari. In the north, whenever he goes into an election, names have been thrown out. Nasir El-Rufai has been mentioned. We have Kwankwaso has been mentioned, and Atiku Abubakar has been mentioned. Who do you think is a politician that will likely inherit that 8 to 12 million votes? Are done by a former late President Muhammadu Buhari.
When you talk about Nigerians are not pieces of structure that you feel they are just sitting down like a piece of wood, and somebody comes and takes that number away. No, this number you are referring to are human beings, and they are very conscious of their political future. They are not just sheepishly following without really knowing what's actually going on, or they are not dead fish.
But they follow one man.
So
they follow one man for so long a time.
No, even at the point that number depleted at the point, it wasn't like that. At the time when Buhari was campaigning for the first time, nearly everybody followed him. But when he got back in 2019, the number depleted to a certain point, and so he continued to dwindle to a level until he passed away. Even though that sang song for him at the end of the day began to sing against him until he died. And so things are never the way you think they should. Don't forget, we are human beings, consciously like that, of course. And so for anybody to say to inherit, is it an estate? That you feel the 12 million is still there waiting for anybody to inherit. The question, the character of Buhari is different for any character that's actually going to inherit the so-called number you mentioned. Don't forget that fact. Is it El-Rufai? Who is El-Rufai? And the other person you mentioned.
Former governor.
Another person you mentioned.
Atiku Abubakar.
Atiku Abubakar.
The former vice president. Atiku has 8 million votes that he has shown the nation that he can partner.
With this jumping from one political party to another, that you feel the number will also be galloping for him? That's what it means?
What if he picks the ticket of the coalition?
Even if he picks the ticket of the coalition, the question here is, who is satisfied with the way he behaves politically? Do you know the number of times he has left political party to join another until today we are talking about him joining the coalition? And so we are equally very conscious of the way things are really going on in this country for us just to submit ourselves without really asking questions. It's not like that. I want to tell you, I was an ardent follower of Atiku, but I will not this time around because he actually betrayed me. He has actually betrayed some of us, as a matter of fact. So at what point will you not say that some of us who feel like the way I'm feeling will continue to follow Atiku till he gets there in 2027? It cannot be. We are not an ex-state that somebody comes and inherits and gets away with us, or he uses us the way he wants to do. It cannot be.
All right. So there are also permutations around an Atiku and an Obi running together, the joint force. Atiku had Obi had about 6 million votes. Atiku had about 7-8 million in the last election. And if the two of them can bring their votes together, that conversation, we've seen them run together before in 2019.
What did they make any impressive outing?
No, it was
did they?
It was dependent. The
number you are calling.
You just mentioned the scenarios were different. In 2019, they ran against a President Muhammadu Buhari second term. Yeah, Peter Obi was not as appealing a personality as he has become in the last 6, 7, 8 years. So the situations is different. So if people have talked about
it's going to be a hard nut to crack. It's not going to be easy for them politically to get what they want to get at the end of the day. Don't forget that the incumbent is just coming in for the first term to finish 4 years. And by political arrangement, he is expected to remain there for 8 years. And then you are now coming from behind, lagging behind, I would say.
Peter Obi has said he can run for 4 years, and that will be all.
And the question here is, would the interest of the present administration give way for Peter Obi to do the one time he is talking about? It might not be easy for them, sort of. So they have the right, because they are simply opposition. Let them be opposing. But those who are meant to actually continue to win, they will win. That's the way I see it. And so it's not just possible, or you draw a conclusion to it, because Peter Obi and Atiku, if they decide to march together to contest 2027, it's still going to be a very difficult journey for them to take. That's very obvious. It's going to be a very tough journey for them to make.
Atiku has the support of
because already they're living in the woods. For them to pull out from it.
We saw the former governor of Gombe say that they still support follow Atiku as the political leader. It seems Atiku is now the political leader of the North.
Who's the political leader of the North?
It seems Atiku is becoming the political leader in the North.
Who said so?
A former governor.
If that is speaking his own opinion. Speaking his own opinion. Speaking your opinion. Because this article we are talking about, I've actually respect him because he has a zeal to become the Nigeria's president.
To serve Nigeria.
But
to serve Nigeria.
Yeah, to serve Nigeria. But to what extent, looking at the number of times he has made a lot of effort to become, but he has not been able to overcome. Nearness is not the actuality of winning the thing. Like you throw a stone and it passes very close to a bed and the bed didn't fall. Will you say you have shot the bed? Certainly not. Okay, so nearness to a thing is not it.
Yeah, just in 2 minutes now, Mr. Gimba, before we leave the studio. People have talked about the presidency rejigging, and the other day we heard the president speak to the governors. He said they should wait the ground. What do you think that statement says politically?
What the ground, I don't know whether are they going to be spitting on it or money. What do you mean by wait? I don't know. Wait the ground to mean what? To do the actual what they're supposed to do,
maybe
or to spend money?
Maybe talk to the masses.
To spend the money.
Campaign, show people, talk about their projects.
Yes, if he said so, I feel it's correct. I feel it's correct because more needs to be done. Nigerians are really crying. Look at that road, that Maraba Road. Every day, we are just at the end of July, but we hardly can drive on that road when rain falls. A kind of a Dead Sea is formed in that particular given area. And so you can imagine what's going to be when August starts properly in just a few days to come, or hours, I should say, and rain start falling almost 24 hours non-stop. Is that the way we're going to suffer to get to office every day? If rain starts falling, don't forget August is meant in the annually a season for rain, and rain keeps falling sometimes 24 hours or more. And you can just imagine what happened just yesterday. People suffered before they get to their offices. Is that as if there's no government? Nobody is thinking of even cultivating what do you call it? Runways for water. Nobody. And they allow rain to fall. When rain falls, the entire place is captured by water that hardly can drive on that road. You don't even know whether you are going to fall into a ditch.
Thank you.
That's the way it is. And so if the president has actually given them the word to wet the ground, let them wet the ground. And I believe they will do that by looking at this Nasarawa.
What does it mean? What does wet the ground mean in your opinion?
My opinion, maybe to be spitting on the ground.
Thank you so much, Topsy Gimba. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this episode of Big Talk. My name is Ubong Usoro, and we had a good discussion today. We looked at 2027 politics. We looked at intricacies that have to do with 2027, and some of the things that are coming up, and we actually brought it up and analyzed for you on this program. Thank you so much, Topsy Gimba, for your presence.
Thank you so much, Ubong, for giving me the opportunity.
All right, and that's the much we can take on the show tonight. Do have for yourself a wonderful evening ahead of you. This is Ubong Usoro in Abuja, and I'm saying bye for now.